Hello, my friend. Before we begin, take a slow breath and let it reach deep into your chest. Feel your ribs widen, then soften. As you exhale, imagine releasing every label you carry, your name, your role, your titles, your history. Just breathe, free for a moment from definition. Because tonight, we will explore one of the most subtle truths of the Diamond Sutra, how the very words that guide us can also hide us, how names both illuminate and conceal. Have you ever thought about how powerful names are? How a simple word, mother, lover, teacher, enemy, can instantly shape your world? You hear a name and a story unfolds in your mind, full of emotion and memory. Yet the Diamond Sutra teaches, where there is a name, there is no fixed day, and where there is a fixed thing, there is no true name. This means that naming is both a bridge and a veil, helps us navigate life, but it can also imprison us in concepts. So tonight, we walk a path that begins with language but ends in silence. Along the way, we'll discover how to use names wisely, how to speak, think, and live in a way that reveals truth instead of covering it. The birth of a name. When a baby is born, the first thing we give it is a name. It's a sound of belonging. "This is you," we say, and the child learns, "I am this word." That's where separation begins. Before the name, the baby simply is, a field of sensation and wonder. After the name, the world divides me and others, mine and yours. Language becomes both a gift and a cage. We need names, of course. Without them, we couldn't function. But when we forget that they're tools, we start mistaking the label for the thing itself. We say tree and stop seeing the living miracle before us. We say enemy and stop seeing the human being behind the label. The Buddha's wisdom points us back to seeing freshly, beyond words. The Diamond Sutra says that the Buddha himself is not called Buddha. Why? Because Buddha is a name pointing to awakening, not the awakening itself. Just as a map is not the mountain, a name is not the reality. If we cling to the word, we miss the living truth it points toward. The power and the trap of naming. Every name holds both clarity and danger. When you call something good, you create bad. When you call someone mine, you create not mine. Each label divides what was once whole, and yet naming can also bring understandings. It can help you communicate love, express gratitude, call beauty into awareness. The key is knowing when to use names and when to let them go. Think of light shining through stained glass. The glass colors the light, making it visible in patterns, but the light itself remains colorless. Names are like the glass. They give shape to understanding but can also distort it. When you forget the light behind them, you become trapped in color. The Buddha's silence. There's a story in the scriptures. A monk asked the Buddha, "What are you?" The Buddha remained silent. When pressed, he said, "Whatever you call me will not be it." This silence wasn't refusal, it was teaching. It showed that ultimate reality cannot be captured by words. Silence, in this sense, isn't emptiness, presence without boundary. When you stop naming, even for a moment, the world feels wider, colors seem more vivid, sounds become pure, because you're no longer filtering experience through thought. Try this for a few seconds right now. Look at something near you without naming it. Don't say lamp or table. Just see it as shapes, colors, light. Notice the stillness that appears. That is awareness before language. That's what the Diamond Sutra calls seeing the world as it truly is. Names that heal and names that hurt. Words can wound or heal because they shape perception. When you call yourself failure, your world shrinks. When you call yourself learner, your world opens. The same is true for others. Calling someone lazy fixes them in your mind. Calling them tired invites compassion. Sushi, the ancient poet we met earlier, once said, "A name can ruin or redeem." In exile, people called him criminal, but he called himself student of the river. That one change transformed suffering into practice. He refused to let a label define his spirit. You can do this too. Notice the names you use for yourself: mother, worker, friend, victim, survivor. Which ones illuminate you? Which ones conceal your deeper nature? The goal is not to erase them all, but to use them consciously, like clothes you wear and remove, not a skin you can't shed. The name of practice. Even spiritual practice can become trapped in naming. I am a meditator. I am a Buddhist. I am enlightened. The Diamond Sutra warns against this. If you think, I have attained enlightenment, you have not, because the very act of naming creates distance between you and the truth. True practice begins when naming ends, not when you discard identity, but when you stop mistaking it for reality. You still chant, study, serve, but the I who does it becomes transparent, like clear water reflecting the sky. Master Guantuan used to say, "When you forget your name, the Dharma begins." He didn't mean amnesia, he meant ego silence. When the name no longer owns you, wisdom shines naturally. Everyday examples. Let's bring this down to daily life. Work. When someone criticizes you, notice how your name feels attacked. They insulted me. But if you see that me is just a label for a collection of roles and memories, the sting softens. Criticism becomes feedback, not a threat. Relationships. We often say, "You're always like this." That freezes a person into a name. The forgetful one, the stubborn one. Try replacing it with, "This moment you seem upset." The difference opens space for change. In self-talk, instead of saying, "I am anxious," try, "Anxiety is visiting." The label changes from identity to event. You move from being the storm to observing the weather. Language shapes emotion. When used mindfully, it becomes liberation. The hidden karma of words. Every word carries vibration. When spoken with intention, it plants seeds. The Buddha said, "Right speech is the bridge between inner peace and outer harmony." This includes not only avoiding lies or harsh words, but also understanding how naming influences reality. When you repeatedly name the world with negativity, "This is terrible, I can't handle it," you reinforce suffering. When you name it with curiosity, "This is challenging, let's see what happens," you invite growth. Speech is karma in motion. To speak mindfully is to plant peace. The practice of naming consciously. You can turn naming into a form of meditation. Name what I ask when walking. Softly name sensations: step, breeze, light. It anchors awareness in the present. Rock the name, then stop naming for a while. Let sounds and sights flow without words. Feel the directness of experience. Use words as tools. When you return to speech, choose names that serve truth and kindness. Over time, this rhythm, naming and silence, balances clarity and openness. You learn that words are fingers pointing to the moon, not the moon itself. The shadow of names in society. Collective naming shapes history. When groups are labeled enemy, outsider, or inferior, compassion fades. Wars begin with words, but words can also heal. Single phrase like, we belong to one human family, can shift hearts. In this sense, the work of spiritual practice extends beyond personal peace. It's about restoring clarity to language itself, speaking truth without hate, naming difference without division. Each time you choose a word that unites rather than separates, you align with wisdom, the name and the nameless. The Diamond Sutra points toward a paradox. Names are necessary, yet truth is nameless. It says, if a Bodhisattva perceives beings as beings, he is not a Bodhisattva. Meaning, if you cling to categories, you stop seeing essence. Think of the ocean and its waves. We name each wave, but they're all water. Naming helps us describe, but it doesn't change the unity beneath. When you remember that, compassion arises naturally. You see through labels, gender, class, nation, and meet the water in everyone. This is why enlightened beings are both active in the world and free from it. They use names as we use tools, carefully, kindly, without attachment. The secret language of silence. Silence isn't the absence of words, it's the space that makes words meaningful. Between two notes, music breathes. Between two thoughts, awareness shines. Between names, the nameless waits. Try pausing before you speak. At silence, taste your words. Often, you'll find that what you wanted to say isn't needed or can be said more gently. Silence at its echo. In the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha's teaching often ends with quiet repetition. Thus should you view the world. It's not command, but invitation. Silence is the final teacher. Our names conceal the sacred. We name things to control them. My house, my partner, my beliefs. But the sacred cannot be possessed. The more you name, the more distance you create. When you stop labeling, you rediscover awe. Look at a sunset without saying beautiful. Just look, let it pierce you. The beauty doesn't need your approval, it's already shining. In that moment, you are not observer and object, you are seeing itself. This is how the Buddha saw reality, not as a collection of names, but as a living field of suchness. To live this way is to recover wonder. The liberation hidden in sound. Paradoxically, while names can conceal, they can also liberate when used as mantra. Chanting the name of the Buddha, for example, works not because the syllables have magic power, but because they focus awareness beyond thought. You repeat the name until the one who names disappears. Then only sound remains, pure vibration returning to silence. Try this. Whisper a word like peace slowly, again and again, until meaning fades and only rhythm remains. That rhythm is the bridge between name and namelessness. The modern mind and the endless naming. Our digital world thrives on labels, hashtags, profiles, categories. We're constantly naming ourselves, our job titles, our moods, our opinions. But each label shrinks the vastness of who we are. To practice the Diamond Sutra today means to use technology consciously. Post, but don't perform. Share, but don't solidify identity. Remember that behind every username is a living, breathing consciousness, not a label. When you look at the world this way, social media becomes not a marketplace of ego, but a reminder of impermanence. Every post is like a wave, arising, fading, leaving ripples. When the teacher has no name. In Zen, there's a story about a monk asking his master, "Who are you?" The master replied, "When hungry, I eat. When tired, I sleep." No title, no doctrine, just being. That's the true meaning of a nameless life. You can live like that too. Do what's in front of you completely, without needing to attach a story. when you eat, listen when you listen, of when you love. That's nameless awareness in action. The return to simplicity. Eventually, all names dissolve, your titles, your reputation, even your name will fade. But what remains is awareness of the one thing that was never named but always known. At the end of his life, Sushi wrote, "My name will scatter like dust, but my laughter will echo in the wind." He understood that the essence of life is not in being remembered, but in being fully present while here. If you can live one moment namelessly, seeing, breathing, loving without the story of me, you've already touched eternity. Practice for the nameless heart. Silent observation. Spend 5 minutes daily watching without naming. Let sensations speak their own language. Mindful speech. Before labeling anything, ask, is this word true, kind, necessary? Aimless gratitude. Thank life without calling it good or bad. Just say, thank you for this moment. This practice loosens the grip of concepts. Over time, you'll notice that joy rises naturally when language quiets. The infinite beyond the word. All words eventually point to what cannot be spoken. The Diamond Sutra closes with this, thus should you think of all this fleeting world as a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream. Words guide you to the edge of experience, but the leap into understanding is silent. When you stop trying to define life, life defines itself through you. You become like a window, transparent, letting light pass. And in that transparency, the sacred reveals itself not as an object to be named, but as the very act of awareness itself. Closing reflection. Names can guide or blind. They can unite or divide. The art of practice is to use them as bridges, not walls. Speak carefully, think kindly, and rest often in silence, because beyond all names, you are already what you seek. So tonight, as you lay down your many roles, worker, parent, friend, seeker, remember before all names, there is peace. In that peace, the world shines. Thank you for watching this video. If this reflection helped you breathe more freely beyond names and labels, please like, subscribe, comment, and share it with someone who might need to remember that what we call things matters far less than the awareness that sees them.
Before you leave, here's something special. In Buddhism, we believe that every encounter carries a deeper meaning. Would you like to discover your true soul connection, the one written into your destiny? Take the Soulmate Test today and unveil the hidden truths of your journey. Click the link below and begin your path now.
http://soulmate. You wisdom more, come, white.